Welcome in. Hi, everybody. Welcome. That's something new. Weird, though. These are like the first words I've spoken all day. Welcome in to the because I've been by myself. I haven't really been talking out loud. Welcome into the High Noon Rant. I am Pugs Moran. We do this every Monday through Friday at high noon, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. We run through all the day's events, hot topics, current events, headlines. It's a current events driven hot talk show. That's what this is. Not like anything else you'll hear on the radio, because you're not allowed to do this kind of talk radio on the radio anymore. No, you're not. You got to just talk sports, or you got to talk politics, and we don't do either of that. We are a non-divisive hot talk. We're gonna get in some arguments. We like that, but it's nothing personal. We don't care about how you voted. How do we do this show? Well, it unfolds before ye very eyes in 4 quarters, like a football game. First quarter is a segment we call Antecedently on This Day. Fancy way of saying this day in history. I just cherry pick some events throughout history that occurred on this day, just to kind of get a nice little ordy over. Just a nice little, that's how I say hors d'oeuvres. A nice little ordy over on, on what this day has meant to us in the past. Quarter 2 is birthdays. Talk about people who were born on this day. Again, I just cherry pick a few of them because a lot of people were born on this day. A lot of people are born every day. I can't name them all. These are the ones that seem, I don't know, slightly interesting and will allow me to rant. Then quarter 3, we go into the deaths, the people who died on this day. These are the significant notable quotables who have passed on to whatever is next on this very day. We talk about their lives, and basically we decide, this person go to heaven or hell. What do we think? That's how we break that down. Those are the first 3 quarters of the show. It usually takes about 40 minutes, half hour, 40 minutes of the show. Then we get into the 4th quarter. This is the meat and potatoes. This is everything that's happening today, the hot topics, the headlines, the current events, whatever it is. You're seeing people on Fox News or MSNBC screaming about this is the segment where we'll get into all of that stuff, but not non-politics. We will dip our toe in politics if it's something that I see as being nonpartisan. But even then, it's like, ugh, politics is so gross. Dude, if you define yourself by your politics, you're not an interesting person. Stop it. Just stop it. So that's it. That's the first 4. Well, that's the 4 quarters. The 4 quarters, which when they piece together, create the High Noon Show. And what is it? It's a rant. It's just me for the next 2 hours ranting on and on about all the things that are happening in the world. No breaks, no interruptions, no nothing. Just me and you in the chat room. Let's say hi to our chatters. They're here every day. So nice to have them. Barney's here. Chuck's here. Joel's here. Leslie's here. Byron's here. Adam's here. April's here. Cameron's here. Everybody's here, man. So good to see you. Appreciate y'all getting together on this Monday. I mean, what's the point? What's the point? We're going to put this up. We're going to talk about how you can support the show if you're so inclined. That would be great. This is a mess. Everything is a mess. If you can tip anything to support this kind of talk radio, that would really be appreciated. And today or tomorrow at the latest would be the best time for you to do that. Thank you, folks. Appreciate it. All right, let's get started. What do you say? We should just get started with the show. All right, first quarter, as I said, is antecedently on its date. So let's get into that. There we go. And it is the High Noon Report for the 5th day of February. That's February 5th, 2nd month, 5th day. How many days? Now we got to do math. January's easy. It's like January 23rd. It's the 23rd day of the year. Now it's getting a little bit trickier. Now we got to do some math. February 5th is the 36th day of the year. That means 329. They're saying 329 left till New Year's Eve. So let's get planned. Let's get our plans going. How was your weekend? Before we get into antecedently on this day. Am I spelling that right? I'm looking at it right now on the screen. Antecedently. Doesn't look right. Nothing looks right. I can't spell. I'm sure I spell checked it. How was your weekend? We had an eventful weekend. God, I'm so stressed out about something that happened, and I can't talk about it because it's just not something that I'm willing to talk about. It's just not yet. Yeah, I will. You know how when things happen, you have to just give it a little bit of time? Oh, I got a story to tell. It's not bad. Maybe it is bad. I don't know. That's the thing. We got to wait and see how this all plays out. I don't know if what happened was bad or not. We shall see. Anyway, other than that, I had a great weekend. Had a great weekend with my kid. We had fun. There's a situation going on with my kid. at school. But I don't know if I don't know. Whoa, man, did we go back and forth on this too? We were like, or is it at school? See, because the story changed. Oh my God, kids are little con men. Anyway, more on this developing ... I don't talk about it now. And you know what? Quite frankly, I may never talk about it. If it turns out, man, teenagers. I don't know. Anyway, we had a great weekend. We had a really good weekend. We tried to call Grandma last night. Grandma was at a funeral. That's going to happen when you call grandmas. Sometimes they go to funerals. So tonight we're going to do a thing there tonight. And then don't. And this is. I don't know. I got a real parental conundrum, the kind of conundrum that maybe would have been solved by my old radio show on the Freak Mansplaining. It's a real good one for mansplaining, but it hasn't played out yet. So you can't. I don't want to go into it. Wouldn't want to. That kid. He's like, "Why did you say that?" I'm like, "Well, okay, dude. I thought we were cool. We are cool, but still, okay. We'll get into it." Let's get into antecedently. See, this is what happens with the stream of consciousness rant. When I'm just talking and talking, sometimes, I'm preoccupied with other things that are happening in my life, and those might make appearances during the rant. But otherwise, we're going to try and stay with current events. Let's get started. Antecedently on this day, the current Confederation, wrong word. The current Constitution of Mexico is adopted on this day, 1917. I don't know. How do you celebrate that? Is it a holiday? No. Is it our Constitution Day isn't really a holiday? I don't know. Antecedently on this day in 1918, Stephen W. Thompson shoots down a German airplane. Pretty cool, huh? Real cool on this day in 1918, because that ain't never been done before. The very first aerial victory by an American Air Force pilot. I guess he was an Army at that point, and you have an Air Force. On this day, Stephen Thompson, 1918. That's got to be the Red Baron times, right? Like Red Baron flying around up there. Stephen Thompson shoots down a German airplane. This is the first aerial victory by the U.S. military. First of many, bitches! Antecedently on this day in 1945, World War II, General Douglas MacArthur returns to Douglas MacArthur, the Philippines. I shall return. He returned to Manila on this day. Interestingly, only because he left his credit card at the bar. On this day, antecedently, in 1958, a hydrogen bomb known as the Tybee bomb is lost by the United States Air Force off the coast of Savannah, Georgia. It is never recovered. See, this is what I always say. I say, like, you never want to be a part of anything in the first, say 50 years of its existence. You don't want to be on an airplane in 1965. I wouldn't have flown in an airplane. What are you saying? They've been flying planes for 20 years. Yeah, 20 years ain't dick. I ain't getting on no plane. Planes used to crash all the time. It's all about the year 2000. And that's when I was like, okay, I think 2000, now they got it figured out. And that's when terrorism crept in. But my point is this. For the first 50 years of commercial air flight, they didn't know how tight the screws were supposed to be. You know what I mean? They were learning on the fly, but there were tickets to be sold. There were people that wanted to go see grandma in California. So they were just going to let it play out. And how did it play out? We had a whole bunch of plane crashes because engines fell off and shit like that. Anyway, it's good now. I think it's good now, except for the terrorism thing. See, one door shuts and another one and a window opens. My point is this, nukes and all that kind of stuff. We didn't know what we were doing for the first 50, 100 years of nukes. We lost a nuclear bomb on this day in Savannah, Georgia. They never found it. This is interesting because there's a story. There's a story in the news today that we're going to cover in quarter 4, which deals with this very same type of situation. Missing bombs. Bombs are going missing. 1958. A hydrogen bomb known as the Tybee bomb is lost by the United States Air Force off the coast of Savannah, Georgia. It's never recovered. Now, so tonight, like on this day in 1958, man, there were people freaking out. There were people like, oh, we can't have a nuke missing. And then they never found it, and it just went away, right? So it's like there's something to be said for, don't worry about it. It'll probably be fine. And it was. I mean, so far, so good. 1958, this thing went missing. It's still out there in the wild. On this day, Antecedently, in 1971, astronauts land on the moon. Apollo 14, the Apollo 14 mission. Now, I'm a space guy. Apollo 14. I can tell you a little bit about Apollo 14. It was the one after Apollo 13. You know, they made the movie about Apollo 13, but really Apollo 13, they made the movie because Apollo 13 screwed up. Apollo 13 didn't make it to the moon. Apollo 13 had their problem, and Tom Hanks and Ed Harris had to work together, and I don't know. They fixed something. They fixed it and they got back, and Apollo 13 became famous. But before that movie, Apollo 13 wasn't famous. Apollo 14 was the much bigger deal. Apollo 14 on this day. Why was Apollo 14 a big deal? Well, it was the third time that we actually made it to the moon. There's one thing. We made it. That was good. Apollo 13 didn't do that. But Apollo 14 made it, but also Apollo 14 was the first was it the first? I think it was the first to land in the Highlands, which is a part of the moon that we ain't been to. So it's the first there. Like, you know, Mare Tranquillis, that's Sea of Tranquility. That's where most of the focus of the moon is. That's where the flag is. That's where one small step occurred. That's the Sea of Tranquility. But that's literally an ocean. That's an ocean on the moon. It's a dried up ocean, but that's, you know, basically what it is. So they landed there. Then there are mountains like ridging the moon. The mountains are actually what we see when the moon is like really glowed, when the moon is illuminated. I'm going into moon geek stuff. I'm sorry. I shouldn't do this. You people need to stop me. I can talk moon geek stuff forever. Anyway, it's the Highlands that we see. It's the Highlands that get illuminated, that glow. Thank you. I'm a space geek. Apollo 14 on this day. Apollo 14, much bigger accomplishment for mankind than Apollo 13. Antecedently on this day in 1988, Manuel Noriega is indicted on drug smuggling and money laundering charges. He was the Panamanian dictator. He was a general. I don't even know if he was a real general. He might have been one of those Central American generals, a guy who was, you know, just a gun thug, wasn't even in the military, but then somehow he rises and now he's got all kinds of cool uniforms and medals that he gave himself. I don't know. Anyway, Noriega, he had a pineapple face. Remember him? His face was all pockmarked. It was like really bad acne. Noriega, on this day, he was indicted. He would not give up easily. Remember, we had to send the military down there and surround the Panamanian palace, wherever the hell it was. And then we played like a bunch of really bad music, like Lita Ford and stuff. Like we cranked with that's how we irritated him. We played like polka music and Lita Ford. And I'm not kidding about Lita Ford. I remember them playing that "Went to a Party on a Saturday." It was like one of those songs. And I went, yeah, that is a real irritating song. And they played it over and over and over and over and over and over. And then finally he went, all right, I can't take Lita Ford anymore. The polka's not so bad. We were dancing. Antecedently on this day in 1994, Byron De La Beckwith is convicted of the 1963 murder of civil rights leader Medgar Evers. Byron De La Beckwith, that's a name. That's a hell of a name. First of all, Byron, very troubling first name. Sorry, Byron. There are red flags associated with all our names. Byron has a red flag. Kenny has a red flag. If you're a Kenny has a red flag. Anyone with Wayne in the middle of their name, like that prominently goes with Wayne, like if your name is like, you know, David Wayne Wilson, you know what I mean? That's a red flag. What else is a red flag? I don't know. There's a whole lot of names that are red flags. Anyway, Byron De La Beckwith. Is this the Mississippi Burning guy? I don't know. 1994. Isn't that around the time Mississippi Burning came out? Wasn't Mississippi Burning a true story? Was it this guy's story? I don't know. Who cares? Byron, it's Byron. First of all, Byron, it's a very regal name. It is a very regal name. I will give you that. There's nothing. I mean, I am not saying that there is anything wrong with Byron. Those who know me know that I don't have a problem with about 95% of that name. I have no issue whatsoever with the name Byron. I'm just telling you what other people say. People are saying Byron. This is not me. This is other people. Peterson. Kevin Barber, that's very good. If your last name is Peterson, that's a red flag. That's a real, for multiple reasons. There's a number of very high-profile wife killers named Peterson. course, all the fake IDs that we manufactured as high school kids had the last name Peterson. Peterson's a very sketchy last name. All right, moving. Sorry for you, Peterson. Sorry for right now. There's a dude, Byron Peterson, out there. Byron Wayne Peterson, who's going, "What the fuck, man? Why am I catching strays?" It's not personal. You live a life and you come up with these ideas. Antecedently, on this day in 2020, the United States President Donald Trump is acquitted by the United States Senate in his first impeachment trial. The first of two, right? Okay, there you go. Moving on, let's talk about. No, sorry, wrong one. Oh, wrong one, but always welcome if you want to drop a little something. Let's move on to quarter two because wanna. They say it's their birthday. Wanna. It's my birthday too, yeah. All right, let's go. Birthdays. Let's run through these. We talked about this guy. We put him in heaven the other day because it's he died. He died last week. Well, he didn't die last week. He died. The anniversary of his passing was last week. Hank Aaron, ladies and gentlemen, for all us old head baseball lovers. Hank Aaron, a true gentleman of the game. Born on this day in 1934. Born on this day also in 1934, Don Cherry. You guys know who Don Cherry is? Don Cherry is like an icon of Canadian hockey. Like imagine if, okay, so Harry Carey is a famous baseball guy in America, but he's famous for being Chicago Cubs, Chicago White Sox, St. Louis Cardinals announcer. That's who he was. Don Cherry was like that. Don Cherry is like that. Well, I guess he doesn't work anymore because he got canceled. And of course he did. This world ain't built for a guy named like Don Cherry. So Don Cherry was national, though. He was an icon, and he was always drunk on TV, going, that third line. You know, he's just screaming about hockey. He's a hockey icon. Happy birthday to Don Cherry, Canadian ice hockey player, coach, and sportscaster. He was like he is like a bigger than life personality. And, you know, he took some, he took some heat for some past deeds recently. And I think the Canadian like hockey thing, I don't know what it's called. I don't know what the NHL, well, I guess it's the NHL. I guess it would be the NHL, or is there a Canadian? Whatever. It's all the same. It's NHL. I think they said, yeah, you can't be a part of this anymore, creepo. And so there you go. Don Cherry celebrating a birthday, born on this day in 1934. Born on this day in 1942. Here's another guy, the gentleman himself, Roger Staubach. Met him once, shook his hand. He looked me in the eyes. He made me feel warm all over. I sheepishly crept away into the shadows. I don't deserve to be in the same I don't deserve to be meeting Roger Staubach. Are you kidding me? Roger Staubach. People talk about Tom Brady, man. You talk Roger Staubach in 1970. Let's say Roger Staubach 1976. Oh my God, that was Captain America. That guy, naval. I don't even know if he's a naval hero. I'm just gonna say he's a naval hero. Naval hero. Heisman Trophy winner, probably. I don't know. I think he did. Quarterback of the ascending Dallas Cowboys, Roger Staubach. Happy birthday, Roger Staubach, born on this day in 1942. That's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one around these parts. When we lose him, that's going to be a big one. We got plenty of time. Roger Staubach got plenty of time, man. I just saw him on TV recently. He looks great. He's Roger Staubach. How's he not going to look great? Seriously, to a 10-year-old kid in the Midwest, the way that Roger Staubach was branded to the rest of the nation was straight up Captain America. I mean, he was something. No, I hope nobody ever turns over any rocks in, Roger Staubach's past. Because one, it's probably going to be some really boring bugs underneath there. But secondly, if there is something, please, can we just stop? All right, born on this day, celebrating a birthday, born on this day in 1942, that's Roger Staubach. Born on this day in 1943, Michael Mann, American amazing film director, amazing. I love Michael Mann. Quickly, Michael Mann draft, because you're damn right we're doing one. I love Michael Mann. This is where we take someone's body of work, in this case, Michael Mann, and we apply the NFL draft. We take a look at all of his works, and then we draft them like they're coming out of college. With the first pick in the Michael Mann draft, I'm going with Thief. Thief was so good. It was like his first movie. I don't know if you ever saw Thief. James Caan. He's a thief. Tuesday Weld. Jim Belushi. Jim Belushi makes his first appearance, like years before, like Thief was like 1978, Jim Belushi. Second pick in the Michael Mann draft, I'm going with Heat. Still love Heat. I'm saving Heat. Heat's one of those movies I'm saving to watch with my kid because I just want to make sure he watches it because it's long and it's really good. And I learned a lesson when I tried to make him watch Godfather. It didn't take. He was too young. So I'm not going to do that with Heat. Number 2, Al Pacino, Robert De Niro. Who else is in Heat? Heat. Number 3, Manhunter. I love Manhunter, man. I love Michael Mann's Manhunter. Now, this is an odd film, Manhunter, because as we all know now, I mean, this is what history now shows us. Manhunter is the first of the Silence of the Lamb movies. Manhunter is the hunt for what's his name? Hannibal Lecter. Who plays Hannibal Lecter in Manhunter? I don't know. Is it like Julian Sand or something? I don't know. It ain't Hopkins. But anyway, it's like the introduction of that. And then like 6 years later, like Manhunter was a moderate success. I mean, I loved it as a kid. I saw it at like 12 or 13 years old. I thought this is a cool ass movie. But it didn't win any awards and it wasn't a big box office hit. And nobody was like, we need a Manhunter too. And then like 7 years later, Silence of the Lambs. And it's like, oh, this is like part of the Manhunter thing. So that was cool. But you got to watch them. I guess you got to, what is the order to watch those? Does Manhunter take place? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Anyway, number 3 off the board in the Michael Mann draft. We're going with Manhunter. Thief is number 1. Heat is number 2. Manhunter is number 3. Collateral is number 4. Collateral. Tom Cruise. Jamie Foxx is a cab driver. Tom Cruise is like a hitman. It's a good movie. Number 5 in the Michael Mann draft. This isn't the movie. This is just because of the cultural contribution to America. This man dominated the zeitgeist for about, 3-4 years. Michael Mann. He created the whole thing. Ladies and gentlemen, it was a phenomenon. Miami Vice. Yeah. That was all Michael Mann's eye. The TV show Miami Vice, that was him. The way it looked, that, and I don't know if people who weren't around then recognize how important Miami Vice was as a television show. It didn't look like any TV show that had ever been made. It was shot like a feature film with real attention to cinematography and like, the sun setting on Miami Beach and the colors and the dress. That's all Michael Mann. So Michael Mann, that's number 5. That's all we do. We do a 5-round draft. Number 1 was Thief. Number 2 was Heat. In the 3rd round, we went with Manhunter. In the 4th round, Collateral. In the 5th round, Miami Vice. But we are inviting a couple of people to camp. That's right. The Insider is coming to camp. The Last of the Mohicans is coming to camp. And I'm also inviting Ali, the Will Smith, Muhammad Ali film. That was very good. Ali is coming to camp. There you go. Michael Mann on this, his birthday. He's one of the greats. Born on this day, also on this day, 1948, Christopher Guest. Christopher Guest draft! Oh, you better believe it. You can't follow up Michael Mann. I mean, I love Michael Mann for a whole different set of reasons that I love Christopher Guest. Christopher Guest, of course, is a genius filmmaker, creator of mockumentary, and the whole idea of let's do it. First of all, the influence that Christopher Guest has had on everything. Do you think there'd be an Office? Do you think there'd be a Modern Family? You know, that whole thing, the whole reality movement, man. This guy saw the humor. He saw the potential, Christopher Guest. So he created this style of doing documentaries that aren't really documentaries at all. They're a bunch of really funny improv actors playing characters and basically just riffing. God, I love Christopher Guest. All right, Christopher Guest. Let's talk about his draft. First off the board, Spinal Tap. How do you not put Spinal Tap, right? Dude invented the medium, right? The medium. Spinal Tap, number 1. Number 2 in the Christopher Guest draft. Technically, I think it's better than Spinal Tap. I like it more than Spinal Tap as far as the Christopher Guest movies go. But Spinal Tap was just more important. I mean, just historically, you're like, yeah, Spinal Tap is more important. But number 2 off the board, Best in Show. That's right. His takedown, Christopher Guest's takedown of the dog show industry. Very funny. Number 3 off the board in the Christopher Guest draft, we're going to go with Waiting for Guffman. I love Waiting for Guffman. Waiting for Guffman is a Corky Siegel. Corky Siegel first appeared on Saturday Night Live. He was a character on Saturday Night Live. Don't need to go into Corky Siegel's background, but Waiting for Guffman is great. Waiting for Guffman, very funny. Number 4 off the board here, the 4th round pick in the Christopher Guest draft. We're going with A Mighty Wind. Mighty Wind is his mockumentary on a folk reunion, sort of like a Peter, Paul, and Mary kind of thing, where he gets all these folk artists together for one big concert. It's very funny. All of these have the same character, not the same characters, the same actors. He uses the same stable of actors. And it's basically, the Schitt's Creek cast. It's Eugene Levy, it's Catherine O'Hara, it's Parker Posey, it's Fred Willard, God rest his soul. Anyway, A Mighty Wind is number 4 off the board. Number 5 off the board for your consideration. A lot of people don't like it. It's his look at a movie that is in production that is suddenly getting Oscar buzz, and what that does to everybody on the movie set when their stupid little movie is suddenly getting Oscar buzz. For your consideration, number 5 off the board. Mascots on Netflix is cute. The Spinal Tap reunion specials are funny. There's a whole bunch of Christopher Guest cool stuff that you can find out there on Mrs. Birthday. He's also married to Jamie Lee Curtis. Questions. Born on this day, happy birthday to Barbara Hershey. She's a hot babe actress from the 1970s. Barbara Hershey is interesting. Barbara Hershey should be much more famous than she is. Do you know what Barbara Hershey did? Barbara Hershey's such a dumb hippie chick. God love her. She's talented and she's beautiful. But here's what this dummy did. Barbara Hershey was a famous actress in the 60s and then in the early 70s. She was a hot, young, ingenue type actress. And then she hooked up with David Carradine. And David Carradine, totally got her into this, weird hippie communal kind of lifestyle thing. And so this famous actress changed her name. She changed her name from Barbara Hershey to Barbara Siegel. Like the bird. Not she's Jewish or anything. No, like the bird. Like Barbara Siegel. And she started making movies, and she became a famous actress named Barbara Siegel. And then she broke up with David Carradine, and she went back to being Barbara Hershey, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's a comeback. Oh, why did she?" And they're like, "Well, not a comeback. She's been acting consistently. She just had a different name." It's terrible. Her agent must have been going nuts. You got to stick with the same name. You've made 2 names famous. Anyway, happy birthday to her, Barbara Hershey. Not Barbara Siegel. Not anymore. Born on this day in 1961, Tim Meadows. I like Tim Meadows, but let's be honest. He's one of the weaker Saturday Night Live participants. Born on this day in 1962, here is a treasure. This woman is a treasure. This woman has become a treasure. This woman is excellent in everything that she does, and we just sleepily go, "Oh, isn't she having a nice career?" Ladies and gentlemen, happy birthday to the great Jennifer Jason Leigh. Jennifer Jason Leigh is legitimate, man. Oh, what was her name in Fast Times? Okay, first of all, adorable in Fast Times. Then, in the middle of her teenage career, her dad gets his head cut off. Her dad was Vic Morrow, the actor who got his head cut off in a helicopter accident on the set of the Twilight Zone movie. So that spun her out for a while. But then she comes back, Jennifer Jason Leigh, and she's just consistently been doing just amazing work. You guys ever seen Quentin Tarantino's The Hateful Eight? If you've never seen, here's one. First of all, I think it's an incredibly good film. But there are 2 standout performances in The Hateful Eight. And The Hateful Eight has a shit ton of big-name movie stars. And the 2 best performances come from Walton Goggins and Jennifer Jason Leigh. Jennifer Jason Leigh plays basically a feral, she lives in the woods. She's almost like a Nell type character, but she's a gunslinging cowboy murderous chick that they're trying. She's like a prisoner. They're transporting her. She is so good. And then she's, I think she's on the most recent season of Fargo, right? Isn't she? Yeah, she plays the mother-in-law in the new season of Fargo. She's awesome. I love Jennifer Jason Leigh. Born on this day in 1962. Born on this day in 1964. How about Laura Linney? She's good too. But I just blew my wad on Jennifer Jason Leigh, so I ain't got much left for the girl who played, the mom in Ozark. How about born on this day in 1964, Duff McKagan, he of Guns N' Roses. Is he one of the screw-up Guns N' Roses guys? I'm not sure. Born on this day in 1969, Bobby Brown. Yeah, we're fairly certain that he's a screw-up guy. He's one of the screw-up New Edition guys. How about born on this day in 1984, Cristiano Ronaldo? No clue who he is. No, he's very famous. Cristiano Ronaldo, born on this day in 1985. He's a soccer player. He's really famous, like so famous that if they said, name 5 soccer players, I would be able to name him. Would never be able to. If I ran into him at the Kroger, I wouldn't be like, hey, what's his name? Cristiano Ronaldo. I wouldn't do that. But if somebody said, I'm dating Cristiano Ronaldo, I would know what that means. Like, I had to be like, wow, really? Because he's like super famous. I don't even like soccer and I know who he is. Happy birthday, Cristiano Ronaldo. Don't know who you are. In this weird, born on this day in 1992, here's another one. If I had to name 5 soccer players, this would be the other one, Neymar. Neymar is born on this day, 1992. Says here, Cristiano Ronaldo is a Portuguese footballer and Neymar is a Brazilian footballer. Both of them are like super, they're like the Michael Jordans. I don't know. I don't know anything about soccer. I know that these two are 2 incredibly famous, well-branded, global superstar names. Don't know anything about them, though. Neymar and Cristiano Ronaldo both celebrating birthdays on this day. All right, let's get into the deads. Quarter 3. Come on, we are rolling here. Quarter 3. These are the people who've died on this day. We're going to run through a quick list of them. We're going to decide whether they went to heaven or hell. Dead on this day in 1995, Doug McClure. Doug McClure, American actor, died on this day in 1995. Why do I mention him? Because he's iconic. He is, y'all know in some way. Even if you don't know who Doug McClure is, you kind of know who Doug McClure is. You know Doug McClure from Doug McClure is Troy McClure. You know the character Troy McClure from The Simpsons? Hi, I'm Troy McClure. You may know me from such, that guy. That's Doug McClure. The character of Troy McClure was created as sort of a mock on Doug McClure. Doug McClure died on this day. He was an actor in the 60s and stuff. One of these, kind of like a Ted McGinley. That would be like a way to say, like the first generation of Ted McGinley was like a Doug McClure. You may not Ted McGinley from everything, but nothing in particular. You're like, oh yeah, he's in everything. That's Troy McClure. Troy McClure, the character of Troy McClure on The Simpsons. I think it was Mike Fight, what was his name? Mike something, who created the character. And he's almost entirely Doug McClure, but the name Troy comes from Troy Donahue. So technically you can say it's a mashup of Doug McClure and Troy Donahue, but really it's Doug McClure. To the extent that Doug McClure in his life before he died, he loved the characterization and let them know. Doug McClure. Hi, I'm Troy McClure. Doug McClure, dead on this day in 1995. We're putting him in heaven because of the Simpsons connection. And because I don't know anything else about him. Dead on this day in 2008, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, Indian guru. He founded Transcendental Meditation. This is the dude that hung out with the Beatles. Remember when the Beatles decided we're going to stop making good music? And they went and they made like really bad music for like 5 years. Actually, that's not true. The Beatles never made bad music. They made some irritating songs. That's how I'll say it. Remember, because the Beatles would make like irritating songs, like Transcendental Meditation music songs, but they'd like surround it with like Helter Skelter and Let It Be. So you were like, okay, fine. You can have this really stupid 7-minute sitar jam as long as you promise to deliver a Hey Jude at the end of it. So that's kind of how the Beatles did it. But this is the Beatles guy. This is the guy that like did all that. He's going to hell. He's going to hell. Probably the guy. There were some weird Beatles songs that were just totally because of this guy. Moving on, dead on this day in 2020, the great Kirk Douglas, ladies and gentlemen. Kirk Douglas. Ooh, here's the thing about Kirk Douglas. I want to put him in heaven because I really like him because he's kind of cool. But holy crap, is there a lot of bad stuff from rocks that have been overturned with him? He was allegedly, some say, lots say actually, a little bit rapey. A little bit rapey back in the 50s. I don't know. That's just what they say. So we're going to put Kirk Douglas in hell for a couple of reasons. He's an actor. He probably deserves to be there anyway. And also, it seems like there's some stuff. There's some stuff you could probably do. So I could be wrong. I'm no expert. I feel like he's of that generation where there's been bad stuff. Hold on. Do I even want to Google bad stuff about Kirk? No, I don't. I don't. We move on. That's a choice I just made. I was going to find out all this negative stuff that would fill my head with bad thoughts about Kirk Douglas when we can just put him in hell and move on. That on this day in 2021, Christopher Plummer. We're going to put him in hell too because he played characters that scared the shit out of me as a little kid. Christopher Plummer, you know who that dude is? That dude always played scary, like monsters and stuff. And I think he got canceled too. Didn't he get canceled recently? Or did he replace the guy that got canceled? Who's Christopher? Hold on. Nah, you know what? I don't care. We're just going to put him in hell because he scared me as a kid, and we're not going to go any further than that on Christopher Plummer. Pervez Musharraf. Okay, this I don't even have to tell you what he was, but he's going to head. He was in charge of the Pakistani military. If you think there's any way in hell that he's done shit that gets him into heaven, you're crazy. Pervez Musharraf. Oh, it says here you were head of the Pakistani secret police for 30 years. Yeah, okay, you're going to want the down elevator. You're going to want... He died on this day in 2023. All right, there you go, folks. That's going to do it. That's all we got as far as the 1, the 2, and the third quarters. Now it's time for the fourth quarter where we like to get you all caught up on everything that you need to know. I'd like to remind you now at this time, this show does run on your tips. So please help the show out, man. We're dying this month. We died last month. We died 2 months ago. We're on life support. So if there's anything you can do, that would be great because I can't guarantee this any further. All right, let's go. Hey, guys, apparently we went to war over the weekend and like nobody really seems to care. Why? Because it's boring war. It's boring war. We're doing airstrikes. We're doing airstrikes in Yemen. We're doing airstrikes in Syria. I don't know. We're doing airstrikes in Jordan. The only place I know we're not doing airstrikes is in Iran. I know. I keep staying on this. I just feel like we need to end the Iran situation once and for all. And why not do it now? Well, because there's a tinderbox in the region. Well, yeah. Tell me when the region hasn't been a tinderbox, man. Let's just come on. Let's just end this problem nation. So yeah, so we went to war. Apparently, it's been continuing. More airstrikes possible today. We're just blowing up bases. We're blowing up things. Who knew there were that many targets? And the fact that there are that many targets tells us we should have been blowing shit up a long time ago. Instead of just letting the dishes pile up in the sink, maybe we wash the dishes one at a time. Meaning maybe one at a time when we find out they're there, we blow them the fuck up so that we don't have to worry about this shit. Let's play whack-a-mole. We're not playing whack-a-mole. We should be playing whack-a-mole. That should be our position with Iran and their hostile little puppet militias that are popping up all over the place. We know who's funding them. So let's just play whack-a-mole on them. But you can't do that. Well, now we had 80 strikes in an hour. So there were 80 different targets, and that was just 1 hour of sorties on Saturday. How many of these targets have we allowed to be known and just sit there? You know what I mean? Come on. So let's do something. Let's end this bullshit. Let's stop the problem with Iran. Let's have a nice, organized, non-chaos country like Iraq and Afghanistan. What? Okay, so we don't have the greatest history of rebuilding communities in that region. We don't. It's not an easy thing, but you know. All right, so that's what's going on. We got jets. We're bombing stuff. We're blowing stuff up. I just can't believe there's this much shit to blow up that we knew about. Doesn't that bother you at all? That it's like moving on. Hey, let's talk about weather. Again, if you want more in-depth, like really how the sausage is made on the airstrikes and everything that we're doing over there against Iran and their puppet states, their puppet militias, go somewhere else. There's plenty of places you can go. You can find out all kinds of details on that. Weather. How about weather? People are talking weather. Oh my God, the weather in California, it's crazy. 40 million people are under flood advisories in the state of California. I don't know what this is. They're calling it an atmospheric river. It's the worst storm that we've had since last March. Seriously, I heard someone say that. Remember the really bad flooding that came through last March where they're like, this is going to be the worst thing. And then it was really bad for a couple of days, but then we all lost interest and they dried out. But now they're like, this is a once in a century storm that we haven't seen since last March. That it's not once in a century. Okay. You need to stop saying that kind of bullshit. They're getting crushed by really bad weather. And you don't have to hype every weather front that comes through as the biggest thing ever, but that's what they do. So they find themselves in a problem like they have now. This is a really big, serious storm that they're dealing with here. 2 days in a row now in California. And nobody's afraid of weather anymore. Nobody's afraid. Nobody takes it serious because everything that comes through is, oh, you're going to need to keep it tuned here for all the weather updates. And by the way, we'll be right back after this commercial. That's what they're doing. They're trying to keep every weather story's got to be something that, did you hear? So now we get this. So here's what we got. We got 40 million people under flood advisories. There are landslides all over Southern California. Roads are closed everywhere. Basically, all the schools are closed. Kids' school buses get killed by landslides. They don't want that stuff. They're dealing with hurricane force winds. 500,000 people have no power, and there are 8 counties in Southern California that are under a state of emergency. They are taking it on the chin. And just like that, the Grammys went off with no problem last night. So how bad can it be? Right? I saw clips from the Grammys. Those people didn't look like they were, under tarps and, battening down the hatches. But anyway, there is a serious weather situation that is going on, and it is affecting real people in California. But apparently nobody who attended the Grammys was ill-affected by this. Let's see. What is the other story? All right. So I'm going to have to do a quick little Google search because I've been following this all morning. The Oxford, Michigan shooter's mom's trial. Jennifer Crumbley. Remember Jennifer Crumbley? Remember Ethan Crumbley? He killed all those kids at his school. And this is a precedent-setting case where we're going to put the parents on trial. We're going to try and hold them responsible for the actions of their little mutant kid. Now, if you remember, let's take you back to how we first were introduced to Jennifer Crumbley and her husband, the parents of Ethan Crumbley, the school shooter. Remember they went on the lam? Remember they disappeared? They were supposed to go and report to the police and give the police an interview about everything that had happened leading up to Ethan's murderous shooting spree. And they didn't show up. And then remember, there was a manhunt for 8-9 hours. Everybody was looking for the Crumbleys. They were heading to Canada. They made it as far as Detroit. I believe we were doing a live stream and we were listening live to the police scanners when they caught them. And they caught them. And they were running. They were running because I guess they knew that they would somehow be held responsible for this. And that's the question, man. I don't know, boy. That's why I'm fascinated with this. Anyway, she's on trial. She's on trial for her role, for her being complicit as a parent, negligent maybe. And the jury is deliberating. So let me see right now what the latest is on Jennifer Crumbley. Jennifer Crumbley. This will be they're still deliberating. Okay, so there is no, oh, wait, let's see, breaking? Anything breaking? Here are the 12 jurors who will decide Jennifer Crumbley's fate. Watch live. Prosecution defense returns to courtroom in Jennifer Crumbley case. Jury begins deliberation in manslaughter trial of Michigan school shooter's mother, Jennifer Crumbley. Okay, so we don't have a decision yet. I'm going to put April in the chat room. I'm gonna put April in charge of telling us what the if this should break. Maybe she'll find out before us. A jury began deliberating Monday in the manslaughter trial of Jennifer Crumbley, the mother of the teenager who killed 4 people at a Michigan high school in 2021. In a novel legal case that stands as a test of the limits of who's responsible for mass shootings, Crumbley, 45, has pleaded not guilty to 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter for her role in the November 30th, 2021 mass shooting at Oxford High School. That was back in 2021. It was in November of 2021. So it's been 2 years. What is this another? Why does it take 2 years to get a trial started? What? Checks and balances, Pugs. You got to make sure that all avenues of appeal have been exhausted before oh, shut up. Our system is so jacked up. Let's see here. The jury of 12 made up of 6 men and 6 women must be unanimous to reach a verdict. 5 alternates will remain sequestered in a separate room from the main panel for the duration of deliberations. My God. It's like, look, I'm right down the middle on this. I'm like 50% of me is like, yeah, she should bear some responsibility. But then the other part of it is like, man, we don't know, and we don't know that she's a bad mom. We don't know that it's complicated. It's complicated. I think I do start to err a little bit on the side of there needs to be more parental responsibility. You always hate the idea of the person who is the precedent, like, oh, this person, we've got to set a precedent so that parents know they've got to be more diligent about knowing that little Jimmy is building a bomb in the garage, so we got to set that precedent. So somebody's got to go first. And man, I really do think that parents should be far more freaked out about what their kids could be into. And I do think that maybe some sort of a legal repercussion for a parent being absent when those kinds of things are happening. I mean, but then we get into a whole thing about, well, he gave the kid a gun and he was only 15, and half the country is like, holy fuck, he gave him a gun, and the other half is like, it's in the Constitution. So I mean, parent can get in trouble for access for allowing access to a firearm. Okay, it seems like they should. It does. It seems to me like they should. But who knows? Some people send Christmas cards out with their 4-year-old holding an M16. So that's kind of what we're fighting against. So okay, so if we're going to remove the gun, like, because guns can't be a problem here, so let's remove the whole, she should be liable for somehow allowing her son access to guns when his son wasn't 18 years old or whatever. Okay, so we can't do that because that's the whole gun thing, and we'll really get in the weeds. So what else could it be? She didn't notice that he had the blahs. What kind of a mother doesn't notice that her son is being mopey? Didn't you notice when he was sitting there cleaning all of his legally acquired handguns and rifles? Didn't you notice that he wasn't smiling? There was no spring. I mean, what is she responsible for? It seems to me that this kid had a gun. He's a little nutcase. He took the gun. He shouldn't have gotten the gun. Boom. There you go. That's for me. But again, Second Amendment. I don't know. Anyway, we're watching for this. April, keep us tuned in the chat room, okay? By the way, I am a supporter of the Second Amendment. I'm just not a supporter of absurd defenses of it. You got to somehow maintain your credibility in this argument. And a lot of people who argue, they lose all credibility. All right. Oh, here's a big one. This was a big one here in the Dallas area yesterday because we took it on the chin. That's right. We're not getting the World Cup. The World Cup finals for 2020, I don't know, 2026, something like that. World Cup finals for 2026. Dallas AT&T Stadium was one of the finalists. But you know what? They went to New Jersey. It was Dallas's AT&T Stadium. It was SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles, and it was MetLife Stadium in New York City. Well, New Jersey, but still New York. Here's the thing. You'll stay in hotels in New York. You'll go out to dinner in Manhattan. You'll have, your fun in Manhattan. So stop kidding yourself. It's New Jersey. No, it's not. It's New York. So that's where it's going to be. The is it 2026? Yeah. Let's see here. 2026 World Cup final to be played at MetLife Stadium, not AT&T Stadium, not in Atlanta, not in Los Angeles. All right, there you go. What else happened last night? Well, we had weather in California, but as I said, the Grammys went off without a hitch. Everybody there seemed to be enjoying themselves without any fear of the mudslides and whatever weather. So here's my Grammy story. I recorded the Grammys last night, and I was going to watch them without commercials, just fast. I recorded, so I was going to watch them, like 10 o'clock last night and fast forward through all the commercials. So I went to start watching it, and I put it on, and it's Trevor Noah, and, kind of the opening is a little different. He's not on stage. He's sort of in the crowd, and he's talking to people, and then they started showing, he started doing hey, guess who's here? Ajax 561 is here, everybody. Ajax 561, and everybody claps. And I'm looking at this dude with like a tattoo of a snake on his face, and he's like, "Eh." And I'm like, who the hell? And then they're like, also, how about Lorraine Chavez? Everybody, Lorraine Chavez is here. And I'm like, who? And they're like, hey, did you hear I was reading Lorraine Chavez? She's now dating Ajax 5. It was just all of this inside shit that I had now I've just made up all of those names to prove a point. There is no celebrity named Ajax 5, but there may as well be, right? That's what the Grammys were for me. I'm watching this for 10 minutes and I'm going, please. Oh, what is that? Is that Billie Eilish? Okay, I recognize her. All right, there's somebody I recognize. Where's Taylor Swift? Where the hell is I can't find Taylor Swift. Oh, there she is. There's Taylor Swift. There was like 3 people in the crowd at the Grammys, the celebrities at the Grammys that I recognized. I guess this happens to everybody when you get to be a certain age. I have absolutely nothing in common with any of these people. And I didn't recognize any of the names. I saw the opening performance by, who was it? Dua Lipa. My God, that sounds like a software. That sounds like a browser. That doesn't sound like a person. That's a person, though. She was great. I don't know what I was watching, and I'm like, hey, these kids are swinging. I didn't know what it was that I was watching, but she was good. I'm like, okay. And then it goes to Trevor Noah, and he's like, meh, 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 and he just starts. And I was, nope. And that was it. I made it like 20 minutes. 20 minutes into the Grammys before I went, I don't need to force this. I don't need, if it's not happening for me, it ain't happening for me. I don't need to sit here and watch the next 3 hours of this nonsense. I have no idea who any of these people are. But apparently, so let me give you I didn't watch. I watched, like, I know what the room looked like. Like, I watched enough to be able to go, okay. So I didn't watch. So here's what I know. Here's what I hear in the echo chamber. Taylor Swift won stuff. I think we all knew that. Beyonce didn't win stuff, or she did win stuff, but Beyonce didn't win enough stuff. Jay-Z got up. Jay-Z was given an award. He got up and talked about how Beyonce ain't won stuff. Apparently Beyonce has won more stuff than anyone else in the history of the Grammys. I guess she's got 32 Grammy Awards, and like the next person in line only has like 18 or something. Oh, but the beef is that Beyonce has never won Album of the Year. That's it. That's what the beef is. All right, stop it with she ain't won stuff. Okay, she's got more Grammy Awards than anybody in history. What is that here? I actually pulled this thing up because I thought that was an interesting statistic. All right, here we go. Here are the records for Grammy wins by artists. Remember, Jay-Z got up and said, why can't Beyonce ever win Best Album of the Year? He was hot. He was mad. Beyonce has 32 Grammy Awards, okay? 32 trophies. 32. You know who's got the next most Grammy Awards? 16. 16. Beyonce has 32 Grammys. Beyonce has 32 Grammys, and second place, Adele. Adele has 16. Alicia Keys has 15. Lady Gaga has 13. Remember, Beyonce has 32, and Jay-Z's up there going, why can't Beyonce ever win nothing? Of course, he was talking about Album of the Year, but still. Taylor Swift has 12. Beyonce has 32 Grammys. Taylor Swift has 12. Rihanna has 9. Fergie has 8. Madonna has 7. Billie Eilish has 7. Now, I don't want to say that Grammys are easier to win now than maybe they were in the past, but how the hell does Billie Eilish have as many Grammys as Madonna? Right? I mean, apparently, maybe when Madonna was winning them, they weren't quite as easy. How does Billie Eilish already have 7 Grammy Awards? The Grammys are stupid. Not like back in the day when I was attending the Grammy Awards. Boy, those awards had meaning. They had cultural significance. I don't know what I'm watching these days. All right, let's move on. That's all. That's my Killer Mike got arrested. Killer Mike from Run the Jewels. He And he's like he's what is he? What is he? What is he? He's a pundit. Killer Mike. He's got thoughts. He's got hot takes. He got arrested. He won like 3 Grammy Awards at the loser ceremony. The loser ceremony is the Grammy Awards that are held like in the afternoon before the actual TV awards, because it's all the ugly people who do the ugly behind the scenes stuff, and they don't want to put those ugly people on TV, but they still recognize they need them. So they give them a little dinner, even though it's not the real dinner. Huh? How patronizing is that? Anyway, Killer Mike wins a bunch of awards. He wins 3 of them. And then as soon as he's done with and by the way, again, this is the early show. This is not the actual show that we see on TV. He gets arrested backstage. He gets arrested. He gets perp walked. Apparently, he got into a little skirmish with somebody on the red carpet. And that person went, I want to press charges. And so they waited for him to win 3 awards. And Killer Mike got perp walked in handcuffs out of the Grammys. And Killer Mike, too. You know, it's like, that's the name. It's like, you know, it's a troubling name for a guy that's not really troubling, for a guy that's actually quite thoughtful, a guy that's actually really well-spoken and considerate and seems to have a good sort of firm grip on what's happening in society. I like Killer Mike. The name, again, misleading. Wasn't Dad a cop? Like, he comes from a cop family, so it's, you know, anyway. What else happened at the Grammys? What else? Anything else? Celine Dion did. I keep seeing Celine Dion did something. She's got that statue disease. I don't know what it's called, but it's like human statue disease. Did she come out? Did she do something? Who else? What else? In memorandum. I didn't. In memorandum. In memoriam. You know, the dead reel. I didn't see that. I got to go back and watch the dead reel. Actually, I bet that'll be on YouTube. I probably don't have to go back and sift through the entire telecast. I want to see the dead reel. Is there a dead reel? If there's a dead reel, we'll just watch it now and that's it. And then we'll be like, hey, we watched the most important thing on the Grammys. What do they call it? They call it in memoriam, right? Not the dead reel. In memoriam, Grammys 2024. All right. What, you're not, what, they're not just going to give me the in memoriam? Who was the big deal with the in memoriam? Tina Turner, I'm guessing? Like from this. All right, you know what? Look, there's... All right, let's see what this is. Is this the in memoriam? We'll just watch a little bit of this. All right. I've already spent more time on the Grammys right here than I did actually last night watching it.
To speak to all of us.
Oprah.
And tonight, to honor Tina Turner, her memory with her own empowering voice, joined by Adam Blackstone, this is Fantasia Barrino.
To move your feet for Tina Turner.
All right. With all due respect, we're good. You know, look, I'm sure she's wonderfully talented, and Tina Turner is an incredibly talented icon. But I thought that was going to be the dead reel, where it was just going to be like dead people, and then we'd all go, do we like that they're dead, or are we sad that they're dead? Isn't that the weirdest thing whenever they do the dead reel? Like applause, like people will see somebody, like there'll be a whole bunch of people they don't really recognize, so there'll be smattering of applauses, but then there'll be somebody that they all recognize who is not worthy of all the applause, but he did play something, like Gavin MacLeod, right? like everyone will see Gavin MacLeod died, and they'll be like, oh, from the Love Boat, yeah. And then they'll have to stop applauding, and whoever comes next, if they're not as recognizable as Gavin MacLeod, it's like everybody went, oh yeah, fuck that person. You know, because it's like, oh, Gavin MacLeod, oh, stop, not for this person. I always thought that was weird. And then sometimes because of Gavin MacLeod gets way too much thunderous applause, once they start rattling off a bunch of big names, the big names don't get the same level of applause as, say, a McLean Stevenson or a Gavin MacLeod. I don't know. It's weird. I always thought that there was a very interesting sort of psychology going on with the whole in memoriam segments. Please don't applaud for... I love the applause. All right, moving on. Who cares? Grammys over. Mark Cuban and Elon Musk are fighting. They're fighting on Twitter or X. I'm going to call it Twitter because I think that's going to bother Elon Musk. Cuban's apparently debating, or has been over the course of the last few weeks, debating with Elon about, I don't know, something. What are they debating about? Something stupid. I mean, stupid in that I don't want to waste my time listening to these two jugheads, these two billionaire jugheads argue it out. Like diversity or something, diversity hiring or something. So Cuban's like, no, it's good. And Elon's like, Elon's going all like crazy. So Elon's got this echo chamber, and all of these people that are, basically, we love Elon, he's not weird at all. All of those people, they're apparently now flooding Mark Cuban's page with like, hey, you Jew, which is interesting to me because I didn't know Mark Cuban was Jewish. Turns out he is. He's like, yeah, I'm Jewish. Really? Not exactly. When I think of like, Jew, I don't really think of Mark Cuban, but okay, that's fine. So Mark Cuban and Elon Musk, apparently not the best of friends right now. Let's hope these two kids work it out. Here's a story, comes out of the Pacific Northwest. Now, if you were listening to our Antecedently on This Day segment, you'll remember that I told you the story about how it was on this day off the coast of Savannah, Georgia, that the United States military lost a nuclear weapon. They lost it on this day in 1958. They don't know where it is. They never found it. It just was like, we had it and now it's gone and we don't know what's up with it. So wasn't that weird, right? How they lost one? Well, guess what? Here's a news story. We got breaking news. Okay, we got breaking news. Did anybody in the chat room get this breaking news? Did anybody in the chat room get this breaking news before I'm giving it to you right now? Yeah. All right, breaking news. King Charles has cancer. King Charles has been diagnosed with cancer, Buckingham Palace announces. Breaking news. Let's see. Let's give you this story here. Dateline, London. King Charles III has been diagnosed with a form of cancer and has begun treatment, Buckingham Palace said Monday. Less than 18 months into his reign, he will suspend public duties but will continue with state business and won't be handing over his constitutional roles as head of state. The palace said the cancer is not related to the king's recent treatment for a benign prostate condition. What? It's not. So he's got multiple kind of concerns. Because remember, just a couple of weeks ago, he was in a hospital with Kate. Remember, he and Kate were both in the hospital at the same time, so they put him in the same hospital so that they could be near each other, father-in-law and daughter. So that was about prostate stuff. And again, he had to be. It was serious enough that they had to make a big announcement. They had to make it public. But minor medical shit these people have all the time. You don't get a front page headline every time they go to get a tooth pulled, So this was whatever it was that had him in the hospital. He was in the hospital for like a week. The thing that had him in the hospital, the prostate thing, they're saying that's not what this is. This is like another thing. So that's not good at all. Sounds to me like he's got a whole bunch of things wrong with him right now. The palace said the cancer is not related to the king's the king. Isn't that weird too to hear? The king. It's 2024. We still got dudes we're calling king and meaning it like legitimately king. Not like ironically, you my king, boo. Not like that, but like actually the king. The palace said the cancer is not related to the king's recent treatment for a benign prostate condition. It did not say what form of cancer the 75-year-old monarch has. That ain't good. Because if this wasn't anything serious, they would give you all the details as to why it's not serious. They would tell you why this is a nothing story and you don't have to worry about it. It's just routine. But the fact that they're not giving us any information and saying, yeah, it ain't about that other thing. Yeah, we found something really bad when we were in there. They ain't saying that, but they're leaving room for us to suggest or at least believe that maybe they found something else. They obviously did find something else. The palace said the cancer is not related to the king's recent treatment. The palace said a separate issue of concern was noted during Charles' treatment for an enlarged prostate last month when he spent 3 nights in a London hospital. Okay, so he goes, 3 nights instead of a week, whatever. I don't know. So he goes to the hospital And he's like, yeah, the prostate's all out of whack. And they're like, yeah, but that's fine. And he goes, but you know what? I also have this issue. And they're like, you don't say, King. And they looked into that. And now they're like, he has cancer. So whatever that was, it was more important than the prostate thing. Look at me breaking down the royal drama. Charles remains wholly positive about his treatment and looks forward to returning to full public duty as soon as is possible. The palace added that the king has chosen to share his diagnosis to prevent speculation and in the hope it may assist public understanding for all those around the world who are affected by cancer. Yeah, we got another story about people affected by cancer coming up a little bit later. But there you have it. All right, that's the breaking news. King Charles has cancer. They're not saying what kind of cancer, but cancer. There you have it. All right, back to this story. So we were telling you in the Antecedently on This Day segment about how this is the anniversary in 1958 of the United States military losing a nuclear weapon off Savannah. Well, just so happens that we found a nuclear weapon in somebody's garage up there in the Pacific Northwest. It's in like Washington. A dude bought it at a yard sale. All right, here, I'll give you the story. Nuclear missile found in man's garage. A rusting rocket discovered in a man's garage in Washington state is, in fact, an inert nuclear missile. Okay, it's inert. Authorities contacted a man in Bellevue after he called the Air Force Museum offering to donate a military-grade rocket that belonged to his late neighbor. He said that his neighbor had bought the item from an estate sale, a garage sale. Just bought a missile at a garage sale. Bellevue Police Bomb Squad technicians said it was a Douglas Air 2 Genie, an unguided air-to-air rocket that is designed to carry a 1.5 kiloton W-25 nuclear warhead. I don't know what any of that means. They said there was no warhead attached. Okay, so that's good. So no story. Boom. There we go. We're done. It's just the casing. But look at what they did. They ginned us up into thinking there was a warhead in the garage, and they waited like 4 or 5 paragraphs in to go, there was no nuke. Well, you said that they found a nuclear missile. Yeah, but there was no nuke. So they didn't find a nuclear missile. But you wouldn't put that in the headline, would you? Because people wouldn't click on that. So here you are, someone who's asking us to trust you about the most important things that we need to know about, and you are right now caught in a snare because you just admitted that you ginned us up. There's no nuke in it. So why did the headline say? Don't trust the media, man. And that's a terrible thing for me to say because I don't know. Don't trust me either. I don't know. I'm just sifting my way through all of this stupid information. We're just talking here. All right, so the dude found a nuke in his garage, but there's no nuke. So he didn't find a nuke. He found a rocket casing. Ugh. A rocket casing found in man's garage. That doesn't get clicks. Man finds nuke in garage. We're clicking. And that's a real news. That is, let's see, who is that? Who are we going to give that credit to? Who is the news organization that did that? Because it's not always these fly-by-night stupid ones. Sometimes these are real news organizations. Well, this one is being aggregated by Yahoo News. Oh, and it's the Telegraph. Oh, it's a real newspaper from England. The Telegraph. Nuclear missile found in man's garage in the United States. It's the headline. Nuclear missile. It's not a nuclear missile. You wait 4 paragraphs in before you tell us there is no nuke. It's just a missile casing. It's just a rocket. But you said nuke because you wanted us to go, bah! Don't trust these people. These people are doing whatever they can to gin us up. It's awful. Joe Rogan is trending. Joe Rogan gins us up too. He's part of the media. I only watch Rogan. Yeah, well, he's bad media too. Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan is re-signed with Spotify. Deal worth upwards, they believe, in its totality, $250 million. Here's the big deal about the new re-upping with Joe Rogan at Spotify. They're going to allow him now to put his show on other platforms. So, Apple will now be able to have the Joe Rogan show. YouTube will now be able to have the Joe Rogan show. This is interesting because the original $100 million deal from a couple of years back that he signed, it meant exclusivity for Spotify. The only way that you could get Joe Rogan is if you went to Spotify. Now, there's some people doing pirated clips and all that stuff on different platforms, but as far as, authentic, Joe Rogan content, you can only get it from Spotify. Now they're saying you could go elsewhere, and they're giving them $250,000. And Isn't that funny? Because there's a lot of again, I am right in the middle here. Don't get me started. I can go off on the idiots on the right too, but the idiots on the left have been telling us now in any way that they could. Spotify's really regretting bringing Joe Rogan in. People at Spotify don't even want to work there anymore. They can't make any money. They are desperately trying. There have been headline after headline. Spotify desperately trying to extricate themselves from Joe Rogan deal. Why were those headlines? Because people on the left, they wanted to read that. They wanted to believe that's true. It's not true. It's not true because today, $250 million to continue. And they bent over backwards and gave him everything he wanted. So again, the next time you read something about Spotify's happy with Joe Rogan, they gave him $250,000. They couldn't be. Dave Chappelle is canceled. Dave Chappelle won a bunch of Grammys last night. Also, Dave Chappelle just signed a new deal with Netflix. Oh, Dave Chappelle's going to destroy Netflix. Oh, stop it. Stop it. Stop it. Just signed a new deal. So what? They filled like 5 secretarial positions or whatever. They filled that 5 people at Netflix corporate were like, I will not work for a company that has Dave Chappelle on its payroll. And they were like, yes, we hear you. We are listening. And please report to human resources for your exit interview. That's what happened. So good for you. They stood on business and now they're out of business because they don't have a job. Joe Rogan's gonna tear down Spotify. Spotify just paid Joe Rogan $250 million. So shut up. Shut up. He's popular. People can't handle the fact that he's super popular and super influential. And you know me, I'm not a Rogan head, but I know how important he is. I don't know how important, influential he is. I understand his reach. I understand why he's popular. I get it. And again, also to be clear, I don't know. Sometimes I try and go in the other direction. Like you, if you heard me saying this, you'd be like, well, Pugs must not like Joe Rogan. I don't have any real opinion on him. I know him from back in the day. He was, one-on-one, he wasn't really somebody that I liked, kind of a bit, D-baggy, like very douchebaggy, like very affliction shirt and brah, very much like that. So that was never really what I liked. Loved him as a comic. Thought he was a great comic. Loved him as a UFC commentator. Think he's the John Madden of the UFC. Love his interviews. Well, the best interview that I've ever heard is the 2-hour interview between Dave Chappelle and Joe Rogan. 2 guys who have politically, at least ideologically, although I guess, we can pigeonhole them into being, they're the same on trans. No, they're not. No, they're not. There's nuance and there is an art to the conversation. And these 2 guys are very good at it. Anyway, they're pretty different politically, ideologically speaking. And for 2 hours, Joe Rogan and Dave Chappelle, like 2 old friends who just have things that they differ on, they had a conversation that was fascinating. So it's not like it's just all dumb meathead stuff. A lot of it is stupid. A lot of Joe Rogan stuff is really stupid. And he does give a spotlight to a lot of people that shouldn't have spotlights, but they get the spotlight because what they're saying is interesting. And then, I don't know. I think the onus is on the listener. You gotta listen and you gotta be like, is this guy full of shit? Because half the shit that I hear on that show, people are full of shit, but they say it really well. They're very well spoken and articulate, and they cite sources and they drown you in statistics. It's like listening to libertarian talk radio. I don't know if you've ever had that experience, but nothing makes sense and yet everything makes sense. That's the trick. All right, moving on. Congratulations to Joe Rogan, $250 million. He's got a new contract. He's going to be at Spotify for a long time, and now you can get him on Apple and YouTube as well. Here, how about this? Carl Weathers. Ladies and gentlemen, on Friday, Carl Weathers died. That sucks. So Carl Weathers, he's of course Apollo Creed to Gen X. We loved him. He's one of the coolest guys of our generation. He's also Action Jackson. He's Look at me. Just discovered I can't say action. I can't say it. Action Jackson. Can't do it. Wow. I wonder if I ever tried to say it before publicly. Action Jackson. That's so hard. Action Jackson. Action. Oh my God. Anyway, Carl Weathers is dead. He was 76 years old. He was awesome. He wasn't just awesome for being Apollo Creed in the Rocky movies or being Action Jackson. But he was awesome for, again, we did this the other day with Jessica Walter and Portia de Rossi's birthday, where we showed you a bunch of clips from Arrested Development. Carl Weathers was a regular on Arrested Development. Carl Weathers played on the television show Arrested Development. Carl Weathers played Carl Weathers. Carl Weathers played Carl Weathers, the guy in Rocky, the guy from Action Jackson, who is now an acting coach and an incredibly cheap and miserly character. Carl Weathers. The Carl Weathers from Arrested Development was a hustler and a con man. And interestingly enough, those were Carl Weathers' ideas. Carl Weathers was brought in as a one-off joke, and Mitchell Hurwitz, the creator of Arrested Development, had this like really harsh joke that would have been at Carl Weathers' expense. And so he was a little bit reluctant to do it. And Carl Weathers heard the joke and he said, no, let's do it. And then let's do this. And then let's do this. And so Carl Weathers was completely on board with building out what was a wholly unflattering portrayal of Carl Weathers. It was, here, I'm going to show you an example. This is Carl Weathers. Is this the first time they meet? I'm not sure. But again, he's playing himself. The late, great Carl Weathers playing himself as an acting coach who is also incredibly cheap. Just really like humorously cheap. His catchphrase was, "You got a stew going, baby," because he would take food out of the garbage and pour it in, like he would take plates out of a garbage and then he'd dump it in boiling. You got a stew going, baby. All right. This is let's see. Okay, so this is the introduction of Carl Weathers. It's the first time we meet him on Arrested Development. He would go on to be a regular playing himself, Carl Weathers. This is Tobias meets Carl Weathers. This is the first time we see him on the show.
Each with their new charge, the Bluths set about redefining their image. Tobias was off to Los Angeles International Airport, determined to return to his family with a career.
Well, this is great. Why would anybody take a limo? What is this, like $12? Why would anybody pay more than $12 to go to the airport? Next stop, LAX. Oh, come on, we're stopping again. How many more stops are we gonna make? Honestly, I haven't even seen this part of Los Angeles. Is that snow? Really now, this is ridiculous. I paid 12 American... Oh my God. You are Carl Weathers, the actor. I went to San Francisco to attend your stage fighting workshop, but you never showed up.
I got bumped from that flight. Here, I'll give you $300 if you get bumped. It's this crazy loophole in the system that the wrong guy discovered. Guess where I won't be going.
Yeah. So, I am an actor too. Well, I want to be. I mean, without the proper training, I'm afraid I'm doomed to be a doctor.
Well, I could train you.
Oh, well, I'm afraid all I have is $1,100, and that's for this plane ticket, so...
Check this out. $1,100 is exactly what I charge for acting classes.
No, it isn't.
Yeah.
Well, what are the chits? Universe? You've done it again.
All right, there you go. That's how Carl Weathers was introduced as a cast member on Arrested Development, playing Carl Weathers. He would go on for, I don't know, a couple of seasons to be Tobias's acting coach. He was cool. He was a cool-ass dude, Carl Weathers, and now he's dead, and we're putting him in heaven. He's Apollo Creed. He was like you think, like, you know. Remember the first time you saw Carl Weathers? Remember he was all glistening and he's all yoked and he was quite a thing. He was, okay. I'm 9 years old and I'm guessing a completely heterosexual young white boy. And I don't know. I'm looking at this Carl Weathers and Rocky. Again, I'm 9 years old and I'm going, okay. Okay. That's a different kind of man than I think I've ever seen. moving on. Carl Weathers. Here's another story here. This is a piece of shit story. Here's an actress out of she's one of these Bollywood actresses, and apparently she's very famous. Apparently Bollywood is, you guys, I know, like, this is our white man in the West perspective. Like, we're just like, yeah, Bollywood. Bollywood is like bigger than Hollywood. There's like more people in India, and there's more like people who are into Bollywood stuff around the world than Hollywood. And I know that sounds completely insane to us, because it's like, well, what do you mean? Everyone doesn't speak English? No, like Bollywood is a real thing. Big, not really for me, I don't know. Here's what I do like about, seems weird. Bollywood movies seem weird, right? Like they seem like there are no rules. Like it's kind of like cartoon-ish, but it's humans, The women, here's what I know. Women in Bollywood actresses are like the most beautiful women on the planet. They all look similar. They all look exactly the same. They all look like Padma Lakshmi, or a different variation of Padma Lakshmi. Anyway, so there's one of these like super hot Bollywood actresses, and she's very famous. She's like super famous. She's got like millions of followers on like Twitter and Instagram, and she's been in movies. She's won like a whole bunch of Bollywood awards. Who knew there were Bollywood awards? But in that universe, that's a big deal. So we don't know who she is, but popular model and actress sparks backlash for faking her death to bring awareness to cervical cancer. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about this because, I have a long stay. You've all heard me talk about actresses and how they are the worst people. They are just vacant husks of inhumanity. They have nothing. They are just constantly looking to be filled up with whatever emotion is within reach at the moment. Whatever it is, they are a powder keg. If there's like a 10% chance this person could cry, she's going with that 10%. She's going to cry in that moment. Why are you crying? My French fries are cold. Why are you crying over French? That's what an actress is, constantly. So they're really troubling people. They're really obnoxious. Actresses. Actors, I don't know. I don't know if actors are the same. Actors are just kind of D-bags. But actresses are just really confusing human beings. A popular Indian actress and Bollywood superstar has sparked an online backlash after revealing this weekend that she faked her death in an Instagram post as part of cervical cancer awareness. So here's what this girl did. This girl went on Instagram and told everybody that she had cervical cancer. All right. She was dying and she was fighting the good fight of surgical cancer. And then there was an announcement by a third party or someone else saying that this actress has died. And everybody, like all these people in Bollywood circles and fans of that, they were like, oh, it's so sad. She's dead. She's dead. Other like big stars were like, I just wanted to make this quick video to tell you all how a light has gone out on the, they did all of this kind of stuff. And then she like pops up like 2 days later and she's like, guys, I was alive the whole time. It was to raise awareness for cervical cancer. Oh my God. Oh my God, this is what an actress does, because an actress has no depth of actual emotion. She doesn't realize that when normal people find out that someone they care for has died, there is a real emotional impact that you have then shifted onto this individual who is now processing the fact that they loved you and you are dead. But because you're a fucking actress, you have no understanding of that level of human actual emotion. So you're just like, I told you I was dead, but I wasn't dead. What's the problem? The problem is that some people are authentic, that not everybody is a big phony husk. You dying affected people, you narcissistic bitch. You made people feel bad. And by the way, also, you don't get to do that. You know why you don't get to do that? Because you haven't actually suffered with cervical cancer. People who are actually going through it, who want to share what their struggles are, who want to share what they're going through, they deserve our respect. They deserve our applause. You're an actress who, for an online stunt, tried to make people go, oh, it's so sad that she died, you narcissistic bitch. Hot, though. Really hot. You want to see what she looks like? Okay, because we don't know who she is, right? Her name is Poonam Pandey. Poonam Pandey. Let's Get a look at Poonam Pandey. So this is what's going on in Bollywood, huh? I didn't think they took these kind of pictures. I thought they wore like funny headdresses and stuff like that. But this looks right out of Maxim. Boom, there she is. Look at her. That's Poonam Pandey. She is not dead of cervical cancer, even though she let everybody over the course of a weekend think that she had died so that she could sit there and read all the tributes to her. How fucking weird is that? Like, ugh. She's the worst. All right, there you have it. Put it mildly, people are mad. Oh, but she's doubling down because of course she is. So she's like on Instagram going, I understand that some people may have been hurt by my portrait or whatever she called it. I understand that some people may be hurt. But the fact is, this is what she did. This is what a goddamn narcissist she is. This is how she tagged it. But the fact is that we're all talking about cervical cancer now, aren't we? We are all acknowledging cervical cancer and the role it plays in the destruction of so many of our families. That's what she did. That was her excuse. No, we're not talking about that. What we're talking about is, man, people suck. Then now the next time somebody says they got cervical cancer, I'm going to be like, oh yeah, prove it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, you narcissistic bitch. You did nothing to raise awareness for cervical cancer. What, you think we didn't know it was a thing? What you did was you clued us all into the kind of monstrous bitch you are. Moving on. So there you go. That actress, Poonam Pandey, Bollywood model and actress, fakes her own death as a part of a cervical awareness campaign. Cool. Cool. Hey, that woman who wrote that really nice thing to you because on the same day that you supposedly passed, her mother passed, and she wrote that really nice thing. I bet she thinks this is hysterical. I bet she thinks that's crazy that you duped her because, she totally opened up about her mother's passing and all that. See, it's just thoughtless. It's inconsiderate. It shows that you're just dead inside. You're just empty. You don't have any consideration for others or anything. It's just about, they thought I was dead and I'm not. Go, cervical cancer. Hey, Jacob Elordi. Here's a guy. I don't know who this guy is, but apparently Jacob Elordi is a movie star now. Jacob Elordi, he's in some movie called Saltburn that I ain't gonna watch. That movie looks stupid. It was, you've just got to see Saltburn. It's about a boy who goes to this eccentric British family's summer manor. And it's all... Nope, I'm out. That sounds terrible. That sounds dumb. That sounds boring. I ain't watching that. But this Jacob Elordi guy, he's one of the stars of it. Barry Keogh? Is it Barry Keogh or Barry Keoghan? I'm not sure how he's pronouncing that. I think it's Barry Keogh. He's in it. He's good. He was in another good movie last year. Saltburn. Yeah, I ain't gonna see it. Anyway, Jacob Elordi, he's the star of that, and now Hollywood's like, you all must know him. Even though he's only been in this one movie. I guess. I don't know. Here's the point. He's like 23 and handsome. He's like 23 and like real stupid handsome. And he's Australian. And so Hollywood's trying to make him a big star. So don't feel bad if you don't know who Jacob Elordi is. He hosted Saturday Night Live 2 weeks ago. And I spent the first 45 minutes watching him going, they're just pulling people out of the audience now. I had no idea who he was. Never saw him before. Anyway, he's making news because he's been arrested. He got into a fight down there. Apparently, he's being charged with assault. Here, we'll get you the details on Jacob Elordi. Jacob Elordi, he is, as I said, he's an Aussie heartthrob, as he's being described here. Jacob Elordi has been arrested. Oh, look, this breaking news, King Charles with cancer, is popping up everywhere now. April, do we have any? We still don't have anything in the Jennifer Crumbly case. Hollywood heartthrob Jacob Elordi reportedly assaults Aussie reporter after heated altercation. All right, I'm going to tell you what happened here because I read the whole story. We don't need the details and I can pull it out. So down there in Australia, I don't know if you guys know this or not. It's pretty crazy. Down there in Australia, it's still 1997. It really is. It's still 1997. And like the biggest thing as far as local entertainment is still shock jock radio shows. And I swear to God, shock jockery is going strong in Australia. They still have like wacky morning shows, man. And hey, we're going to put a guy on the street. His name is Vomit. And you're all going to kick him in the nuts until his eyes turn red. They're still doing that shit down there. And Jacob Elordi was down there for some Australian awards thing. And like one of these, like the Stuttering John of Sydney, you know, gotta die. You know, that guy, he shows up and he starts hammering him. Jacob Elordi is the subject of a police investigation after allegedly being involved in a dust-up outside a hotel in Sydney on Saturday. The Saltburn actor, who has quietly jetted into his home country ahead of the AACTA Awards, was at the Clovelly Hotel in the city's eastern suburbs when he got into an altercation with Kiss FM employee Joshua Fox. Brisbane-born Elordi, 26, is said to have been approached by the 32-year-old Fox, who is known for crashing weddings and press conferences, and for his Instagram account, MAFS Funny. Okay, so you get that. So you get what's going on here. So he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna get him. Hey, what's it like being gay?" Or I don't know. I don't even know what I don't even know if he's not gay. But I'm just trying to think, like, what would a stupid shock jock street reporter in 1997 say? Which is so weird because I was a stupid shock jock street reporter in 1997, and I can't come up with anything to say. That's probably a good thing. Anyway, I think you should get punched in the face now. I think in 2024, if somebody like myself, the way I might have approached you in 1998, or a Stuttering John, or whoever, whatever, I think that, yes, you get punched in your face. I think you should know better. I don't think that's interesting anymore. I don't think being an obnoxious ass is even slightly interesting. See, that shit worked in 1997 because we still existed in what was, for the most part, a civilized society. Obnoxious assholery was not applauded to the degree that it is now. It has been normalized to be a dickhead, to be a jerk off. That's a normal thing now. And I really do think it has a lot to do with people emulating their favorite shock jocks. Hey, man, it's okay to call chicks fat. And hey, no fat chicks on his show, no fat chicks here. Like, we lowered our civility. And all of a sudden, nothing is shocking anymore. That's what happened with shock jockery. Nothing is shocking anymore because everybody does, you know, it's been normalized. Being a dick has been normalized. So anyway, here we are in 2024, and I think in order to resist that, we need to defend civilized society, and the best way I can come up with to defend civilized society is punch a jackass in the face. Just punch him in the face. Just, there you go. No one in 1997 was just punching people in the face. I think we bring that back. I think we can tamp this back down. I think maybe we can control the asshole class if there are assholes out there knowing that maybe they're going to go to the emergency room. I'm not talking about causing any kind of lifelong damage, but I'm talking about slapping someone in the face for being a prick in public, thinking they could get away with it because of the First Amendment. Yeah, fuck the First Amendment. You know what? You're standing right here in front of me and you just said something that you shouldn't say to me. So boom, slap. Let's go. How you want to respond, bitch? Wild West rules. Yeah, I know that doesn't really sound like the best way to get back to a civilized society, but sometimes you got to burn it all down to build it back up again. And maybe that's where we are. Just stop putting up with assholes. That's what I'd like to do if we could. Jacob Elordi, he ain't putting up with assholes. What else do we have here? Marilyn Manson. Speaking of a-holes. Marilyn Manson is in the news. Marilyn Manson, why is he in the news, right? Marilyn Manson, what is this story? All right, so Marilyn Manson is being sued again. Isn't he under like 15 different police investigations? Isn't he, like, his career? I hope he got his bag. Like I hope he's like, if you're gonna live the lifestyle of the brand Marilyn Manson, you're gonna need some things. Like, you're going to need a creepy old house that looks expensive, but you've made it creepy and all that, right? You need to live in like an Addams Family kind of house. So right there, we're talking property taxes. We're talking probably in LA too. So it's probably like, a multi-million-dollar house. So he's got to have enough for that. Like, Marilyn Manson can't be, he's like 57 years old or something. Marilyn Manson can't be living in a condo. You know what I mean? Like, he can't be putting on his Marilyn Manson makeup in a condo. He's hearing the neighbors on the shared wall having a fight in the next room. Marilyn Manson, I wonder if he made his money. Like, I wonder if he's good. Like, because he probably ain't bankable anymore. I wouldn't think, not after all the stuff. Anyway, here's the latest. Marilyn Manson. Also, by the way, is it Antichrist Superstar? Amazing. Dope show? Amazing. And come on, Marilyn Manson didn't suck. He did not suck. He did some cool stuff. I mean, he sucked. Again, art from the artist. The artist sucked, but the art was actually pretty cool. What is he in trouble here for? Marilyn Manson completes community service sentence for blowing nose on a videographer. See, that was something you could get away with in 1997. You could blow your nose on a videographer. You can't do that in 2019. Marilyn Manson. Why can't I say that name? What was the other one I was having difficulty with earlier today? Action Jackson. That's it. I can't say Action Jackson, and now I'm having difficulty with Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Manson, who was sentenced to community service for blowing his nose on a videographer at a 2019 concert in New Hampshire, recently completed his time at an organization that provides meeting space for Alcoholics Anonymous and Al-Anon. Yeah, he didn't do anything. He didn't do okay. So, man, I'm gonna tell you something I never told before. And I'm comfortable telling it now because I spent years and years working for charities at like poverty level income. So I'm comfortable telling this. But I got in trouble years ago, and I was forced to do community service. This was here in Dallas. It wasn't anything big. It was driving. Anyway, so they said, look, we'll throw everything away. Just do some community service. And so I started a charity that really only existed for the period of time that I was under this community service, and I reported to myself, and so the paperwork was all sent to me, and the notes that I left about my own behavior in the community service program was just stellar, and yeah. So community, whenever like people of like anytime people who know people, like connected people, luckily here in Dallas, I was connected at that time. Yeah, anytime people they get community service, don't think they're going to be on the side of the road picking up garbage. They don't. They all have a friend who's a lawyer who will give them a piece of paperwork that can be submitted that'll pass, and then everybody's going home. Not a big deal. Like I said, the only reason I'm comfortable now talking about how I lied about my community service obligation years and years ago is because then after that, I actually did work for charity organizations for years and years. So I feel like I've made up for it. Not one of my prouder moments, but I am certain that Marilyn Manson didn't make soup in his soup kitchen. Okay. He didn't do that. He had somebody, probably had a buddy create a charity, and he went to go work for that charity, and that charity wasn't even a thing. It's not a real charity. What was the name of our charity? I think it was called the Purple Rose of Texas or something charity. I don't know. It was something weird. My buddy E was involved in it. He helped me out. Well, yeah, look, all I'm saying is there's a workaround with almost everything. You want to do 100 hours? 100 hours? 100 hours of what? On like Saturday? Like I got to wake up early? I'm a shock jock. I don't know. You people, I need my rest on my weekends. I can't be serving the community. So I got away with it. But again, I would then go on to work for other charity organizations where I feel like I've made up for that. Youthful indiscretion. Speaking of another youthful indiscretion, and this really bothered me because it turns out this dude is younger than me. He's younger than me by a couple of years, and I thought that he was older than me because it just makes sense that he would be older than me, but he got himself in trouble again. Third time's a charm for old Pat Mahomes Sr. Pat Mahomes Sr. got himself his third DUI there in Tyler, Texas, which is just amazing to me because Pat Mahomes Sr. must be a terrible drunk driver. Because my friend James lives in Tyler, and if you know James, he has some very provocative hot takes about, social norms, one of which is driving while intoxicated. I do not like it. I do not enjoy it. But James has never gotten a DUI. And Pat Mahomes in the same town, Tyler, has gotten 3. And how Why aren't they taking care of Pat Mahomes Sr. in Tyler, Texas? Fun fact, in the city of Chicago, Harry Carey used to get picked up by police all the time. And you know what? There was never a news story because the police would pick up Harry Carey for doing Harry Carey type things. Boy, buy me a beer. I got some stories about Harry Carey type things. So they would arrest Harry, and then they'd just call, like, Andy McPhail or somebody from the Cubs, and they'd come down and they'd just get Harry, and Harry'd go home, and nobody would ever know that Harry Carey got arrested the night before. So why aren't they doing that for Pat Mahomes Sr. and Tyler? This is like the most famous family in Tyler. Everybody loves Patrick Mahomes. And, here's his dad. His dad has been famous. His dad was a baseball pitcher. His dad's been famous for a long time. I don't know. 3. So 3. He's actually gotten 3. Doesn't that make you wonder how many have they let him go from? Like, how many did he get that they were like, come on, Pat, not again? Pat Mahomes Sr. arrested for suspected DWI in Tyler, Texas. Get into this. The father of Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes the first, was arrested on Saturday in Tyler, Texas, and charged with driving while intoxicated. The 53-year-old remains in jail as of Sunday afternoon, per the Tyler Morning Telegraph. Bond was set at $10,000. Jail records indicate that Mahomes previously served a 40-day sentence for driving while intoxicated in 2019. What? $40 days? Pat Mahomes Sr. did 40 days in prison for DUI in 2019. That seems, now granted, I'm not, Mr. DUI. It's not like I've got a whole bunch of them that I can draw on experience, but it seems to me 40 days for a guy who you would think would have the means to defend himself against these charges. 2019, his son was in the NFL, right? Wasn't Patrick Mahomes the 2017 draft? So he's in the NFL and he's still, oh man, that's weird. He's got a drinking problem. I think it's clear he's got a drinking problem. Mahomes was an ex-Major League Baseball pitcher for the Minnesota Twins, Boston Red Sox, New York Mets, Texas Rangers, and the Chicago Cubs during an 11-year Major League career. His son, the 2-time NFL MVP, is slated to play in his 4th Super Bowl on Sunday against the 49ers. All right, so there you go. All right, so now let's talk about this for a second here. Pat Mahomes Sr., father of Patrick Mahomes. Pat Mahomes Sr. was a professional athlete. So you have to believe that when Pat Mahomes Jr., the guy who we know now, the Kansas City Chiefs quarterback, when he was like 9 years old, he must have just looked up to his dad, the Major League Baseball pitcher, as just being the height of, like, what a man is, what athletic success is. And if you work really hard, Patrick, there's no guarantees. If you work really hard, you too can have a rich, glamorous life in professional sports. So that's what he was growing up watching his whole life. He's like, my dad did this, my dad did this. And I'm sure Pat Mahomes Sr., he was probably, let me tell you something, kid. You're never going to be as good. You're never going to be a champion if you don't do this. You're never going to be. So it's probably a lot of that. A lot of dad feeling like, I'm Pat Mahomes. This is my kid. He's got to live up to me. So now we fast forward a little bit. Nobody knows who the hell Patrick Mahomes Sr. is. His son, the pupil has, surpassed the teacher. The son is now an icon. Pat Mahomes Sr. was a baseball player who maybe some old baseball heads would go, oh, yeah, I remember that dude. Yeah, he played on a bunch of teams. Yeah, he's pretty good. He had some good seasons. That's Pat Mahomes Sr. Pat Mahomes Jr. is he the greatest quarterback of all time? He's certainly the greatest quarterback in the game today. How many Super Bowls is he going to win? So you see the difference here. You've got the father who was once this elevated dude in the life of his son. The son has now jetted past him. And now dad's looking at his son like, I don't have any advice for him. He's experiencing things that were never made available to me. He is a sports superstar on the level of an Ali or a Jordan or a Gretzky. That's who Patrick Mahomes is. And the dad was just a journeyman ball player who's, got some respect for a couple of great outings in his career. That's it, man. That's got to be rough. So now Dad is, and Dad's a great supporter of Patrick. Of course he is. He's there. He's in the box. He's having fun. But it's got to be, seriously, I mean, I don't know how emotionally mature Pat Mahomes Sr. is. I don't think he is, because he's obviously using alcohol to deal with a whole bunch of things. But it's got to be tough. It's got to be tough. If you're not emotionally, like me, I always tell my kid, like, my kid's like, yeah, I'm taller than you now. I always say, you better be. He's like, I get better grades than you got in school. I'm like, yeah, that's the plan. You better get better grades than I did in school. Yeah, I can lift more weight than you. Yeah, that's the plan. We want you to be better than me. So I'm comfortable with that. And again, I guess I haven't really accomplished anything, but you know what I mean? Like, my son, I want my son to be Pat Mahomes. But what if I was also somebody who was in that field or a similar field, in the field being sports celebrity, and I didn't quite make it the way my son did, and now my son is just blown. It's got to be hard. Gluck is my point. Man's out there drinking. The man's dealing with demons. The man's got some regrets. And his son is like the most famous professional athlete in America. You could make that argument. If the NFL is the biggest sport, in America, is there anybody bigger than Patrick Mahomes? I mean, is there a bigger star in the sport of football than Patrick Mahomes? I don't think so. I think there might be other people that you could mention that we'd go, yeah, okay, we could have that conversation. But certainly Patrick Mahomes is in that conversation. So that's what Dad's dealing with. Dad's dealing with a son that is better than him. And I don't think he's dealing with it well. He's a drinker. A lot of former pro athletes are drinkers, though. Do you think it's because that's the environment where you get to relive your glory days? Is that it? Sitting around drinking with the guys? Like, if you're a former star athlete, now you live in this town and there's a corner tavern, you might spend a lot of time at the tavern, right? Because everybody, tell us about the time you took the hill against the Yanks. You'll get like a lot of, well, it was a cold night for New York. You'll get that. That's kind of the fun of it. So you start drinking. So a lot of these dudes become alcoholics. Also, they don't have to work. They don't have to wake up and go to work in the morning. They got money. They got money in the bank. So, they got nowhere to be in the morning. All of a sudden, nobody's interested in them anymore because they, can't play sports. They start drinking. That's what's going on with Patrick Mahomes Sr. All right. That big breakdown. Went deep on him. Don't know why. I find him interesting. I find Patrick Mahomes Sr. very interesting. All right, let's see what else we got. Anything happening here in the CNN making some big changes. Apparently CNN blew up their morning show. That morning show was nothing but trouble from the beginning. It was originally Don Lemon, Poppy Harlow, and then Caitlin Collins. And Don Lemon and Caitlin Collins hated each other, and apparently they made Poppy Harlow cry because she was like stuck in the middle. She's like, "Stop it, you guys!" And then so they had to. And then didn't Don Lemon call Poppy Harlow old or something? He's like, you've seen better or something. He said something that he got like, kind of Me Too'd for, which is awesome when the Me Too blade comes back and hits somebody that's like been wielding that, like, because Don Lemon is like a big, like, listen to all women, he's a big advocate guy. And then all of a sudden he does something that gets him in the meat grinder. So that was interesting. So then he left. And then what? They moved in Phil Mattingly. It's like a 15-year-old CNN newsman. I don't know if you've ever seen this kid. So then it's Phil Mattingly and Poppy Harlow. I don't know. They blew it up today. They said, hey, CNN, we're doing something different. So I don't know what they're doing now. I have no clue. Who? Oh, yeah, wait, I do. I know who it is. It's Pamela Brown, I think. I think she's getting a new show in the mornings at like 9 o'clock. It doesn't matter. Nobody watches CNN anymore anyway. You're programming a morning show like it's the Today Show in 1985. What are you doing? Nobody is waking up and putting on CNN and watching it. People are waking up and they're going to their pads and they're hitting their apps. Nobody is going, clunk, clunk, clunk. Let's see what CNN is doing this morning. And you know what? The people that are doing that, your advertisers don't want them. Your advertisers don't want the people that are still watching CNN. Your advertisers want young people who are still developing their spending and buying habits. They don't want 70-year-old people who have been watching TV the same way who drink the beer they've been drinking for 50 years, drive the kind of car they've been driving for 50 years. That dude ain't buying a Tesla. Stop it. I don't know. I just hate cable TV. I'm out of stuff, guys. Can you tell the show is over? The show, I've run out of things. I'm just waiting here, hoping that at any minute we're going to get a decision here in the Oxford shooter mom case. I don't know if that's going to happen, though. So let's see. Let me do one more quick pass through the headlines right now. King Charles cancer. That's the big one. You heard it here first, folks. We broke it. Claim that. I'm going to claim that. We broke King Charles has cancer. 9 inches of rain has hit California. Is that a lot? 9 inches. Bum, 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 bum. What do you guys know anything about this Apple Vision Pro? This is like, I'm seeing this everywhere. Oh man. What happened with Google Glass? You guys, isn't this like Google Glass? Didn't remember like 15 years ago, Google was like, you wear these glasses and you can record women upskirt shots and all that. It was really bad, right? They introduced Google Glass, and then we realized that humanity is just like a bunch of like really dark people. And what we realized was that Google Glass was being used for its most nefarious capabilities, like immediately. Like, you know how like porn sites are like the #1 thing on the internet? It's like the internet, you can do so much with the internet, but humanity decided that porn was going to be like the #1 thing. That's like what happened with Google Glass. They gave people Google Glass and they went, how can I break the law with these? And they just started doing weird, creepy human stuff. Right? Google Glass went away. Well, now we got this new thing. This Apple's trying to do something with glasses as well. You know what? All these guys like saw Terminator, right? Isn't that it? They all saw Terminator, and now they want to live their life inside the Terminator. You know, all the readouts and all that. Doesn't really seem practical. Stormy Daniels has a new documentary at Peacock, it says here. Don't know anything about it. Can't even imagine I'd be slightly interested in her story. But here we go. Stormy Daniels documentary from Orgasm Inc. director, set at Peacock. Been watching a little bit of Peacock. Been watching a little bit more Peacock because The Office. Started rewatching The Office. And you have to watch it on Peacock. I don't love Peacock. I think I might love Peacock. I think there's a chance to be. Right now, Peacock and me, we're like in the rom-com stage. Like if this was a rom-com movie, we've met each other. We're forced to deal with each other, and we irritate each other. But we do kind of see certain things that we're interested in. Like there's certain shows that I want to watch on Peacock, but it's so clunky the way the interface works for me. This is a stream of consciousness, people. This is what happens when someone says, I'm going to start talking now and I'm not going to shut up for 2 hours. Sometimes we're going to say really stupid shit. A documentary on Stormy Daniels, the porn star who made national headlines when it was revealed that Trump lawyer Michael Cohen paid her $130,000 to keep quiet about her affair with the former president. It's coming to Peacock next month. Stormy. Directed and question. I have a question. And maybe if a question from my pervs out there. I got any pervs in the chat room? Pervs. I need all the pervs to come together. Am I crazy? But I had never heard of Stormy Daniels before this whole Trump thing. Like there's some porn stars I've heard of. Like I've heard of some porn stars. Like Ginger Lynn and Tara Patrick. Jesse Jane. I mean, I knew the porn stars that we had on our show, right? Like we used to have a lot of porn stars on the show. So I knew them like now, like I don't even know how old this is now, but I like, is Riley Reid still like the default porn star name you throw out there? Like if you tried to make a porn star joke, you'd go Riley Reid because she was like famous 10 years ago. Point is this. Was Stormy Daniels a famous porn star? Like, am I just not that into porn that I didn't notice her? Or was she like, I don't know, I'd never heard of her. I had never heard of Stormy Daniels. I've only seen Stormy Daniels. I've only seen her art. Post her becoming known as like someone who, slept with Trump. That's where I became aware of her. But they're acting like she gets a documentary. Do you know how many porn stars there are? So I used to have a friend, Bruce X, who we used to call him Bruce X. That's what we called him on the air. He's dead now. God love him. But he owned a porn company. He owned a whole bunch of things. But he owned Metro Video, which became Zero Tolerance Video. And anyway, the point is this: he was big in the porn industry, but he wasn't big as like the porn guy. He was big with the bankers, like he did the finance and like all of that kind of stuff. And so he had this peripheral info. Well, he was the boss. Like he could walk on any porn set anywhere, and everybody would be like, "He's the boss." But he wasn't like down there in the trenches making porn. They once told me we did this thing where we went on a porn shoot. It's like we took a bunch of listeners on a porn shoot. Yeah, we were doing shock radio. So we took a bunch of listeners on a porn shoot, and I was talking to this guy, Jim South, who is a big porn casting guy. And I said, how many porn actresses? I mean, is it hard? Are picking slim? Like when you want a girl, like do you have to sometimes go with like an ugly girl? And he goes, I get over 10,000 solicitations a week. 10,000 girls a week are sending in, to be a porn star. So there's a lot of them. So my point is this: was Stormy Daniels famous, or was she just one of those 10,000 that do a couple of? I don't know. A documentary on Stormy Daniels, the porn star who made national headlines when it was revealed that Trump lawyer Michael Cohen paid her $130,000, is coming to Peacock. Stormy, directed and produced by Emmy-nominated Helmer Sarah Gibson, premieres on the streamer on March 18th. Gibson is known for her work on documentary films and series, including Netflix's Orgasm Inc., The Story of One Taste. Well, I don't know what this is. All right, I don't care. I probably won't watch it. Look, when I heard about the Pamela Anderson documentary on Netflix, I was like, oh, that'll probably be good. That's been out for 6 months. I haven't watched it yet. So I'm sure as shit ain't going to watch some Stormy Daniels documentary. Speaking of, there is a documentary series on Peacock. Again, remember I said, I don't know. It's like Peacock and I are in the early stages of a rom-com. We're being forced to deal with one another. We're irritated by one another, but also there's something there. One of the things that's there about Peacock that I could see me having a love romance with Peacock now. One of the things is they've got a new documentary series about Run DMC. Ooh, I know. That looked really interesting. So I watched about 10, 15. Kings of Queens is what it's called. I think it's a 4-part docuseries about Run DMC. I watched 15 minutes of it. And then I watched 15 minutes of it with my 14-year-old son sitting next to me. And I don't know, he decided that he was going to adopt this character that asks questions about everything. And it irritated me. So I stopped watching it after 15 minutes. Where is that, Dad? I believe that's Queens, New York. So that's like the city of New York? Yeah, city of New York, Queens. It's one of the boroughs. You were just there last week. Yeah. So where is that again? It's Queens. But like, where is it from where I was staying? I don't know. You were staying in Manhattan. Queens is like one of the boroughs. It's okay. Hey, Dad, who's that? That is Jam Master Jay. You've already been introduced to these people. All right, who's that? That's Run. What do you mean? Are you just gonna? So I stopped it. I was like, you really don't want to watch this? And he's like, no. But I know I can irritate you. So there it was. We did watch after that. We did. We watched this weekend. My kid and I. We had it was so wonderful. We watched Groundhog's Day. He'd never seen it. He never saw Groundhog's Day. So Saturday night, we had some Al Pacino. We had some Al Pacino potato chips. I was trying to say jalapeno potato chips, but I said Al Pacino potato chips. Oh, man, that's a branding opportunity for Al Pacino. I wonder if he'd ever thought about that. We watched Groundhog's Day. We liked it. We liked Groundhog's Day. I hadn't seen it in like 30 years, so I enjoyed it. He enjoyed it. He enjoyed it on first take. First watch through, he's like, that's a funny movie, Dad. I go, yeah, it is. It's Harold Ramis and Bill Murray. I've got a standing offer for him, and I remind him every time we watch a Harold Ramis movie. I say, you know, after you graduate college, I will pay for you to attend the Harold Ramis School of Comedy Filmmaking. It's part of the comedy university that they got now, Harold Ramis University. I don't know if it's called that, but it should be called that at the Second City in Chicago. It's like the first film school in America that focuses on comedy storytelling and comedy. And so, I don't know. You want to waste some money after college and extend your youthful existence well into your 20s. If your dad has certain successes over the next few years, I'd be more than happy to pay for that for you to have that experience. So we watch all the Harold Ramis movies. What else? Joel says, now Riley Reid. I know. What are you talking about? Is Joel going to be is Joel? I asked for some people in the chat room to be my porn experts. Never heard of her either. Joel says, no, never heard of her either. Okay, so we're talking about Stormy Daniels and about how she wasn't really famous, was she? She became famous because of this. She was just one of 10,000 girls who shoot porn videos a week or whatever. The number was crazy that there are that many girls every week. Fathers, start paying attention to your daughters, man. Unless you're cool with it. Hey, no judgments, man. Whatever. Honestly, no judgments. I really don't have any judgments. I mean, people need to use. You're a good person. If you're a nice person, if you're a decent person, I don't care that you have sex on film because, you know, maybe you come from humble beginnings. Maybe, you know, a lot of us, you know, have to make do with what we got to make do. That's how I feel. I don't have any of these like puritanical judgments. Okay, this is funny. So I just went to Twitter, trying to extend this show a little bit longer. We're talking about porn stars. Here's a porn star I know, Lisa Ann, right? She's a porn star from the 90s, isn't she? Why is Lisa Ann trending? Why does Lisa Ann have a British accent while getting arrested for allegedly trying to see her friend? She get arrested. Wait, what? Lisa? Wait, how long ago was this? Was this recent? 6 hours ago. Okay. All right, let's watch this. So porn star Lisa Ann apparently got arrested. Look. She went to go see a comedian. Matt Rife is the comedian, and apparently she was removed from the comedy club. Porn star Lisa Ann. Let's watch this. Okay. She's claiming I did nothing wrong. Okay. All right, baby. All right. So now I know this porn star. I mean, not from anything recent, but hasn't she been doing like porn films for like 30 years? Isn't she one of the icons of the business? So here we go. Porn star Lisa Ann being escorted out of a comedy show. I don't know what she did, but let's watch. See how she behaves.
I did nothing wrong. I didn't touch my phone. I wanted to see Matt Rife because he's a friend of mine. And I go to jail. I did nothing wrong.
Okay. All right. First of all, I think we can all agree she probably did something wrong, right? She probably made a nuisance of herself, because I can tell you the rules of a comedy club are pretty clear. Good comedy clubs, you don't get a second chance. You fuck up once, you're out. And they do it as quickly and as quietly as possible so as not to disturb the delicate rhythm of the show. So she's drunk, and this is what happens. People get drunk at comedy clubs, and they get a little bit entitled, and they think, whatever. I don't know. She's Lisa Ann. She's probably loaded, got loud, was asked to leave. And by the way, your friend, Matt Rife, this is really embarrassing for him. He does not want you name-checking him as you're being drugged out of a comedy club. Let's watch it again. Porn star Lisa Ann getting drugged out of a comedy. How old is she? Someone in the chat room, do a background on Lisa Ann, because I swear to God, I feel like she's been doing porn since the 90s.
I did nothing wrong. I did.
She looks kind of good. You know what she looks like? Doesn't she look like someone one of the Trump kids would marry? Doesn't she look like, like Don Jr. would be mad? She's got that Fox News porn star or Fox News chick. That's a new game. All right, I gotta write that down. That's actually a really good game. I need to develop that. Porn star, and then I'll show, because look at this. You're telling me this isn't. Look at her.
I did nothing wrong. I didn't touch my phone. I wanted to see Matt right. He's a friend of mine.
All right, there you go. That's another poorly behaved adult film starlet. You don't have to be look. I've seen plenty of normal people get tossed from comedy clubs. Totally normal, totally. And sometimes you get drunk, you're having fun. Like, what are you getting bounced for? Like, if you get bounced from all right. So if you get bounced from a comedy club just for being loud, for like not paying attention to the show and all that kind of stuff, that's fine. You just get out, just you don't want to be there anyway. Just get out, go ahead. You're drunk, fine, go. The people I find most interesting are the people who get bounced from comedy clubs because they try to insert themselves into the show. You know these people? Like the people who the guy will tell a joke and then you'll just hear this disembodied voice from the darkness of the crowd go, "That ain't funny." And then all of a sudden now that person's got to go really quick. Goodbye. Oh, what? It's not freedom of speech? Shut up, stupid. It ain't freedom of speech in a comedy club. You're paying to see someone perform. It's America. If I don't like what... No. See, all of these people bought a ticket to see someone perform. You signed off on that when you also purchased a ticket. Now you're sitting here saying you don't want to go by those rules? Get the fuck out of here. Freedom of speech. I found his joke offensive. You snowflake bitch. All right. Let's see. What else do we have? Is that why Lisa Ann is trending? I guess that's why she's trending. You guys, who's Whitney Wright? Okay, because now apparently they're popping up all of these other things. Whitney Wright is also a porn star who is making news today. How did we get started here? Oh, it's the Stormy Daniels thing. Yeah, that's right. So the initial story that got us into this bunny hole of porn news, not something we've ever done. Okay, here we are. So it started with Peacock announcing there is a docuseries coming to Peacock about Stormy Daniels. And I just asked the question, was she famous? Or did the Trump thing make her famous? Because I don't remember her. Then we started talking about Lisa Ann, because coincidentally, Lisa Ann is trending. So we just watched Lisa Ann get bounced from a comedy club for being a drunk loudmouth. And now apparently, I wasn't even going to mention this story, but I saw it earlier, and now it's popping around again. So there's this porn star named Whitney Wright who is over there in Iran. Like, she went to Iran. She's like from Oklahoma City. She's like just an American porn star from Oklahoma City. And she is for some reason over in Iran advocating for the Palestinian people and like Instagramming. It's very weird. Well, let's see. Bring this story up. And I've never heard of her either, but she's being treated like she's a famous porn star. And I don't know, what is a famous porn star anymore? All right. Controversy after U.S. adult performer Whitney Wright visits Iran. Whitney Wright, 32, visited Tehran last week and posted a picture of herself at the site of the former U.S. embassy. Do we have a picture of her? What's she look like? Hold on. That's a dumb story. All right, who cares? Who? I don't even know who she is. Let me look her up. No, now is not the time. Now is not the time for me to be looking it up. Barney says born in 1972. So we're talking about Lisa Ann, I'm guessing. Lisa Ann born in 72. She probably got into porn at 18. So 72, 82, 1990. Yeah, that's pretty much, that's when I probably, I don't know. No, maybe not. Like, porn is funny for my generation because porn like wasn't anything that existed for previous generations. You had to go down like, with your old World War II buddies down to the Union Hall, and they had to put up a screen, and you all sat there very weirdly watching black and white gross 1940s porn. Like that's what your grandpa's generation had as far as porn. But then our generation, Gen X, the VHS was invented, where you can suddenly have this kind of thing in the privacy of your own home, which was unspeakable for the time, bringing that smut into this house. Yet every video store in America had that room with the curtain. Our great little secret, our dirty little secret that we don't tell anybody about, we don't address it. We just have a gigantic adult section at the Family Video Hub, or whatever it was called in the strip mall, but there's a giant porn section. So that it became more like porn stars became real famous in the 80s, right? With the VHS, like that's where your Ginger Lynn's and your, I can't name any other ones, but you know what I mean? If you're like of that age, you remember, like they were big. But before that, what did you have? You had that Debbie Does Dallas girl who I don't even know what her name is. Seika, I guess, right? Deep Throat. Who was the Deep Throat girl? That was it. And those were like one-offs. And then in the 80s, all of a sudden, there's like a whole bunch of porn stars. But then the internet, boom. And the internet hits, and now all of a sudden, you've got digital distribution of this stuff. People can make money instantly. And I got Jim South telling me 15 years ago that he's got 10,000 new applicants every week to do porn. So I don't know. Forgive me if I can't keep any of these people straight. What would the Mount Rushmore of porn be? I am not the person to consider this, but I wonder what that would be. What would the Mount Rushmore, if we shut all the voting right now in 2024, what would the Mount Rushmore of porn be? Do we even put anybody from the 70s up there? Because those people, like, they made movies that like 1,500 people saw. And it just became word of mouth famous, you know, not like, I don't know. Duff McKagan is trending. Why is he trending? He's got to be trending because it's his birthday, right? We mentioned that it was his birthday. Holy crap. I'm looking at a video of Miley Cyrus walking into the Grammys yesterday. She's getting better with age. Miley Cyrus is getting better with age. I never found her attractive at all. I always thought she kind of looked like a trampy little trashy girl. And now I'm looking at her walking into the Grammys as like a 30-something-year-old woman in a glamorous dress. She looks great. All right. Tattoos. Her generation with their ill-advised tattoos. You're never going to be able to look glamour. You're never going to be able to look sophisticated with the anchor and cherry dice on your arm. Sorry. You made that choice when you were 20 and high on Molly. And now you've just got that for the rest of your life. Your generation is foolish with your tattoos. Kids today don't get tattoos. My 14-year-old, I said to him, I go, so what, are you already thinking about tattoos? You know, I always tease him about tattoos and cigarettes. I'm like, you can start smoking cigarettes yet? And he has no interest in that. Doesn't want a tattoo either. He's like, I don't want a tattoo. I'm like, that's not a thing for your generation. He's like, yeah, not really. It's not a thing for our generation because our moms all have tramp stamps and it's not cool. I'm like, that's very interesting. Very interesting. I mean, it'll be back. His kids will want tattoos. I got nothing else, guys. That's it. This has been the show. Please support the show if you support this kind of thing, or if you believe that there is a room in radio and hot talk for non-divisive, non-political, daily current events-driven talk. Help us out if you can. I love you guys. We'll be back tomorrow at noon. I'm tired, and now I have to go.